All right.
So, hi, my name is Tina Kaladze. Just like Professor Carey wrote it. And I'm here to talk about running your business. So, just a little bit about me. I am interested in dramatic arts, running a business, and personal growth. That's, pretty much sums it up. So a little bit about my background. I am from Republic of Georgia. I was an exchange student when I was about 14, 15 years old in the United States for about 1 year. It was a competition, and I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to come to the US, hone my English skills, and learn more about American culture. Then I went back to Georgia, started studying at a very competitive business school in Georgia. It was almost like Ivy League school for Georgia. And then, one of the most significant parts about my life is the sacrifices that I started learning as a human being, that you need to make sacrifices in order to advance in your life. And one of the sacrifices was missing my mother, who came to America. She was an immigrant, and we went through a lot of difficulty missing each other, and that was very difficult on me. We had a very great relationship, and that lasted for years, actually. So when war started between Russia and Georgia in 2008, I was taking some Spanish courses in Spain, and my mother came to Spain, and she brought me to the United States, and that's when I came here. I had already studied about 3 years at business school in Georgia, and so I had 1 more year to go there, but since we came to America, I just decided to continue my studies in the United States. Temple was the one school that accepted most of my credits, and it had a great business school, so I decided to go to the Fox School of Business, and I studied entrepreneurship. One of the reasons I picked entrepreneurship was because I wanted to have a well-rounded business background. I wanted to understand different aspects of running a business. And generally, the prospect of running your own business that's what I associate with business. And plus, my mother has had some business background. She had her own business in Georgia, so that was something that I felt a connection with and familiar with. Can I go back? And then while at Temple, while at Fox, what I did was, there were so many amazing resources at school, and I tried to take advantage of everything. I was getting enrolled in clubs and just, leadership activities, and tried to involve myself as much as possible. In the beginning, I remember I was so overwhelmed with so much that school had so much to offer, but that was also exciting to explore. And then I also had internships, and I did some work when I could, serving. I also remember that one of the years, what I did was to help out my mother, who was helping me then with, tuition and everything, was I got an apartment close to Temple, and I got roommates myself to live with me, so that paid off for the entire year of studying at Temple. So that was a little bit of me doing some business stuff. And then after I graduated Temple, I was fortunate enough to get a position at Deutsche Bank. I was working for a financial advisor, or with a financial advisor. I was a sales assistant, and some of my duties were administrative work as well as talking to customers, and it was a great experience. I was also learning about finance world. I was reading different series, and I was trying to get to know as much as possible. However, there came a point, I was also doing some art on the side, making some short films, and there came a point where I asked a question. It was great to start a career at a Deutsche Bank right after graduating because I had a salary right away, which was amazing. I needed it. But I also started asking myself, is this really what I want to be doing? It's great to get a job after you graduate, but is this something that aligns with my long-term plans? And there came a point where I literally had existential crisis. I also started thinking about life, like what am I here to do? And some people experience that more than others probably, but for me it was something that was like very big, and probably partially because I was also missing my family in Georgia, and it was like a lot of emotional stuff I was going through, like breakup with a boyfriend and stuff. So I really was in a very like down place, and I was trying to make decisions from that place. So that was pretty tough. But basically, I started really looking for answers and really hands-on, so you guys might experience that too in life, at some point or another, and it's really important to keep going and have that hope and know that there's like something that's gonna emerge out of that, and you're gonna come out of that, so know that. And then I did go through some spiritual journey, so basically then I quit working at Deutsche Bank and I started working as a server, and I started studying acting on the side. So that was a risk that I took because I made a decision, if I don't do something that aligns with my goals, then at this age I'm never going to do it in the future. So I made that decision, and I was like, it's better to take risks initially than later on, because we become more stable as time goes on. And I was also afraid, what if I get tempted when to go further and further when I'm on that ladder, on that career ladder. Then soon after that, I met with an entrepreneur at a networking event, Marvin Weinberger, and he was talking to me about the company that he was thinking to start. So I spoke to him about it, and we were, I became interested in what he had to say. So I started working at a startup called American Certified. So my logic then was, why not just use my energies creatively rather than doing serving work, and then working in a startup, I'm going to have more flexibility. That's what I was looking for, more flexibility and analytical work, not just administrative work, and more hands-on business. So that's what I did. I had valuable experiences at American Certified, had many hats on, and at different stages of a startup, I was doing different things, like developing a website and project managing and hiring and creating a business plan, talking to investors, so like different aspects. So that was a really valuable experience. It was almost like going to masters for while someone else is financing you, basically. And then at the same time, I was also studying at Playhouse West Dramatic School of Arts, which was, and that made me very happy. And of course, I was very, very busy, but that was fine because it was everything I wanted to be doing. Then I started doing Airbnb, and the way I started doing Airbnb was almost by accident. It was very experimental. I rented out my apartment when Pope was here, so that proved very successful, and I kind of liked the business model. Basically, what it came down to is there was an opportunity that presented itself, and I tend to take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves, and especially if I like the idea. So I went for it, I experimented, and then especially also that my apartment was already furnished, so I didn't really need to extend too much of my capital, so I didn't need too much initial capital, and that made business sense to me. So, and then I made some risks, because there was another apartment that became available, and I wasn't even sure how good of a business it was, but because I thought, this is another opportunity that might not come along so soon in the business, so why don't I just actually risk it and do it and go for this apartment also and see what it comes out of it, and I did it. I took another apartment, and I was very afraid. I mean, the fear was there because no matter how much you calculate, I didn't have enough information, I didn't have enough data to know how successful the business would be, so I just went for it, It doesn't seem to be like this whole a huge risk, but it was it was pretty big for me then because I didn't have much capital. So anyway, I went for it, I took a risk, and then I was basically, for several months, I was just testing it, and I was seeing how good the business model was, and I had to adapt to some changes because suddenly my landlord was like, you can't do this anymore because we don't want so many people come and go from this apartment, so from these two apartments, so he just said no to me. So I had to go to Philly real quick, because I was in New Jersey then, and I had only a couple weeks to find new places because I had all this furniture, I didn't know what to do with it, and basically I went to Philadelphia, and I started looking. For a couple of weeks, I kept calling landlords and trying to find apartments. I couldn't find anything, so I was literally about to give up. I was like, well, this business, it's nothing. There's no point in doing this because I mean, obviously, most of the landlords, they just don't want all these strangers living in their spaces. So I was about to give up when 3 opportunities presented themselves, all at the same time, and I went for it. And then my landlord came back to me and he offered those apartments again to me, but for a higher price. So I had about 5 apartments then. So I was about to go for another larger risk. So I had to adapt. I had to again go for some risks, and I did it. So I was like, if I'm doing this, I might as well just do it. So I just went for all of them. That's when I also met with one lady who was managing properties, and she wanted to partner up with me. She thought that was interesting. She wanted to have a stake in it and experiment also while I was doing the work, and she was willing to invest 50% of the finance, and I invested 50% of the finance, but it turned out that she didn't really have much time to run the business, so she had to pay me the rest of in time. So and then it was a slow season, so it was fall, winter, a low season, and the business wasn't making that much money, so she just suddenly started freaking out because this business isn't even making money, what am I investing for? And we had a very difficult time arriving at a conclusion, negotiating, and she decided to go to court because she wanted her money back right away, while I told her that the business that we had just invested both of our monies, and there was no way I could give her money then, but I could give her money at a later date, which she wasn't willing to do, and she decided to go to court, and that was very difficult on me. I went into her office so many times. I asked her so many times to just be able to negotiate and arrive at a reasonable conclusion. She was not willing to do it. I went through very stressful times because I'm not used to going to courts and stuff like that. It was just very weird to me. The whole experience was very strange, and I was very nervous. I started therapy then, literally, and then basically the court finally, but you know what? I started fighting with her. I made a decision to, I said to her, if you're fighting with me, I'm gonna fight with you, and I just did it. I learned law, I had an attorney, and honestly, she lost much more because of that than if she had negotiated. So I made some, as it was not good for her to go to court with me, let's say so. And I mean, American law is great. So anyway, that was an experience, and you gotta learn to fight, right? And but you just have to fight fair and not be a bad person, but just fight fair, right? Then also, like, it's really not good to be bad because it's like in business, you need reputation. And actually, due to reputation, I have been expanding now because my landlord referred me to another landlord. So it's because of this great relationship that I have with him that, and like reputation means a lot in business. Yeah. So basically, real quick, I'm going to tell you some things about just generally running business management. So very basic things that I'm sure you know probably better than me because you're like still in school. So in management, you basically need a strategy. You really need to think in advance, like where you're going. Like at least approximately have an idea where you're going. And then of course you need management in daily, like how you run a business daily. And you need some practices, like healthy practices that you incorporate in your daily life. Then relationships are very important. You need to learn to manage relationships. And in this case, I tend to, I had experiences with like different kinds of people. You know, there was one guy, one of my employees who was caught in jail, and his grandmother called me. He asked me to go to like a court hearing for him to speak for him, and because I felt bad, I literally went to court and I said to him that I said to the court that the guy was like really nice and he was doing nice work for him. So it's like also like creating those bonds and helping people out. I think is cool. So but also having a distance and just figuring out, navigating different relationships and figuring out how to speak to every individual. Every individual has their own language, and learning to speak their language rather than imposing your own is very important. And then negotiations. I mean, negotiations are a huge part of business. You negotiate with everyone on so many levels. In my case, I negotiate with landlords and guests. I mean, I had this one guy who wanted to stay at my place for like an extended period of time. He started negotiating pricing. And I got a vibe that he was kind of into negotiations, so I just went with it. And we kind of played around, and that was so fun. Because like some people, they're so like, and you gotta feel it out. Some people just don't like to negotiate. If you give them a different price, that's it. They're living. And some people they are into it. So like after our negotiations, he was literally like, "Oh, Tina, it was so great to do this with you," because like he had a respect for it, and he liked it. And then partnerships. Of course, I told you about this. We had like a long time of negotiations. It was really tiresome, actually. And then just deals, even like when you're purchasing some things or like getting internet or like different companies, sometimes you have to work out some deals. So that's like, you need negotiation there. And also like I'm learning that I need to negotiate with myself too. So I need to kind of, it's like if there's like different parts of you and meaning like if you want to be doing these different things and then like you tell yourself, oh, so if you do this, then you can do this, and like just work out a relationship with yourself also. And also like being able to say no when when it's needed. And I finally, actually this partner of mine, or previous partner of mine, she actually got into management of my other apartment. And she wasn't previously associated with it, but she wanted to make my life difficult, so she like literally got into another apartment, and she was like literally chasing me, at this point. And at one point she told me she liked to play with me. I don't know, it was just like weird relationship. And it seems funny now, but it's really not. And apparently I just left that apartment too, so that was like me saying no completely, even though she offered me to stay there like in the last minute. I just said no because I wanted to leave that relationship completely and be like not be associated with it at all. So I wanted to talk about identity a little bit. So I think it's really important to have awareness of, and honestly, why you want to start a business. To really think about what drives you, what motivates you, why you want to do what you want to do. And that just brings you to your value system. What really drives you? Is it status, money, power, sex, service? What is your prime motivator to why do you want to do well? Because I think if you have that in mind, why you want to succeed in whatever you're trying to achieve, then you will keep reminding yourself, oh, that's what I wanted. So you will be going for it. And then I think it's really good if you start thinking about your place in the world. What kind of contribution would you like to make as an entrepreneur in the world? And how would you like to fit in the society? And how you would like to be defined. See yourself as an individual. How would you, how are you distinct from others? What would you want to say in the world? And it's not a very quick process. It's not something that you might be able to say right away, but it's something that you can get to for, it's like a journey to figure this out. And I would say try to think of the furthest attainable goal, that you can achieve. And aim for it, and you will definitely get there. There's no way that you won't get there. But also keep in mind that there's going to be golden boxes arising on the side, and you're going to be tempted to reach out to those golden boxes that are so shiny, but don't do that, because always keep reminding yourself what your end goal is, and that's very important. And if you don't have your goal, your own personal goal, someone else will definitely give you their goal to work for. So why just not have your own, right? Right, and for running business, I would say that you need various skills, such as you need to be able to wear multiple hats. So in the beginning, I was doing everything. I was even cleaning apartments, taking out garbage, doing laundry, doing accounting, marketing, customers, photography, everything. I was everything. Everything was dependent on me. And it was very difficult. I was working 24 hours a day. The sleep that I was doing, that was a necessary part of my job because I needed energy to recuperate, So, and then I started to learn to delegate, but it was really good that I did everything myself in the beginning because it's just you're learning so much more about the details of everything, and plus it's good to be I started with Ivy League type of school in Georgia, and then Fox here, and then Deutsche Bank and all this status and stuff, and perceiving myself as oh, look at me, right? But then I started server, right? Went back almost, and then I was cleaning apartments, right? And that didn't last long, but still, it's it feels weird psychologically that is this where I'm I should be? It's kind of, is this what I was studied for? But then it's good, it's okay, it's okay to humble yourself in that sense and go through that. Plus, I always wanted to experience being a server. In Georgia, I didn't really get that opportunity. American kids do. Anyway, that was... So, right, priorities, that's really important. So, there's this concept of lean project management, and you really hone that in the startup world, because these days, when you're running a startup, especially a tech startup, you need to have priorities every single day. Every single morning, your priorities change, because deadlines are never fixed. They're always very flexible. So in the morning you get up and you say, what's my priority today? What's the most important thing I need to do today? And not get carried away with like all the details, because even though, let's say there's like so many things that I want to do with the design of the apartment, but before I get to that, there might be like some bottom line, short-term client getting might be higher priority for me at the moment. So I really need to think about it and really prioritize very well. So also just developing sense of responsibility, and that everything is on you. So like stop blaming your parents and everyone for like things going wrong in your life. That's just not healthy. It will never serve you in life. You know, like owning everything, owning up to everything is really like one of the key things you can generally do in life. And just like being responsible for everything. It's like, it makes you so good, so strong, and it reflects on everything else you do in life. So, and your business depends completely on you. It doesn't depend on your team or anyone. Like, you are the person who, like, I had moments when I was like low on cash, but I was literally, I couldn't sleep. I was shaking as I was like putting numbers in the spreadsheet. Like, I didn't know if I would have enough money. Like, I was like so nervous, you know? Everything was dependent on me. And it was very tough times, but I survived. It's a lot of responsibility. And then, right, so decision making is part of responsibility. Every decision counts. And also, just generally being a good developing person, developing your character and all of that, it helps your business too. The more honed, fined you are, the better, like, it shows in your business, and it shows in your outer life also. I talked a little bit about relationships. I'm going to go through this real quick. Strong personal bonds are very important, not just formal relationships, and relating to, and that's my personal opinion, relating to human beings personally, not just formally. Being relatable, having emotional maturity is important, because no one wants to deal with a person in business with like a bad behavior. You know, just don't behave badly if you want to be successful in business. So managing employees, partnership yourself, I mentioned that. Listening is important in relationships. So we think we listen, but a lot of times we don't. So pay attention to how you listen, like really listen to the person, like what they have to say. I mean, that helps in negotiations too. Like if you're trying to negotiate and if you carefully listen, you can derive conclusions from, like, you can navigate from what the other person tells you when negotiating. It's really a cool skill to develop. And then as far as conflicts go, so I think it's really important to think about, okay, there might be conflict occurring, right? Is it really worth it? How much it's worth it? Like, know that. So I've spent times on the phone with like internet and like Pico and all those companies, and like trying to like bring a fee down or something, and then I realized, like, oh, I put in more time into this than it's worth it, you know? So like, manage your energy. Like, some conflicts are just not worth it. You might be making money while you're dealing with a conflict, so make those decisions. And building and testing relationships. So what I mean is, so building relationships is really important, right? I believe building strong relationships with people, but also test them.